Jason is on the line. Jason.
Hello, good evening, and
Good
thanks
evening.
for having me.
My pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful this evening. I'm in the Midwest here. It's about 100 degrees, but we're surviving.
Where in the Midwest, do you want to say?
Near Kansas City.
Near Kansas City, on the Kansas side or the Missouri side?
Missouri side, but I've lived on both.
Very good. All right. I was in Kansas about a year ago, but way in the middle of Kansas. I was in Lawrence. That's not in the middle of Kansas,
Lawrence.
But it's about an hour outside of Kansas City, right?
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes. It's a very interesting town. It's definitely great to visit there. I lived there for about 5 years.
There's a painting on the wall of this studio, actually not where you can see in this shot, but on the other end of the studio that I got in Lawrence, Kansas. So there's an object in the room I'm sitting right now that comes from Lawrence, Kansas. Isn't that?
I love those synchronicities. That's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So, what's going on?
Well, I'll just preface this real quick with just a quick background. I experienced a spiritual awakening about 3 years ago. Okay. Completely flipped my life upside down. Changed all my belief systems. Started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and meditating out of nowhere, having visions, having insight on my whole life. Saw the world completely differently. That's the quick version of it. But wow. It's been quite the path since then, and changed me. And I've had to, work with those, all that knowledge and being able to see through things and intuition. Yep. And a lot of things had to exit my life at that point. So of course, marriage, house, job, a lot of those things left, and I have a young child. Okay. And been on the path since then, and it's been a crazy ride. But okay. I'm super grateful for the whole thing, and I can see all these things that happened to me, and how it's actually benefited me. When you get on the other side of it, it helps. But one big thing's been coming up recently, and I know there's previous trauma on that, but I had a job that recently closed down a few weeks ago, and I have a lot of fear and anxiety that come up about finances. Now, of course, the spiritual side of me doesn't like money, and I try to not let it rule my life, but it's also something that's very much needed in this world. Yeah. And I'm trying to live my life and go day to day, but I do wake up sometimes in complete fear. I could lose my child or this and that, and it overwhelms me. And I like to speak like I'm above this, but when I am in it, I am certainly not. I am fearful, and you had a couple of videos that popped up for me, and I saw it today, and I just appreciate any input on it.
Well, it's very interesting to me that you had this very intense spiritual awakening. I mean, very intense, relatively intense. So it created an upheaval in your life. So on one hand, you had this really intense spiritual awakening, which seems, you're saying it happened a few years ago, so it wasn't like something that was a fleeting thing. It's still with you. It changed your whole lifestyle. And yet, at the same time, you're still experiencing fears around money. So it's very interesting to me. I don't know the answer to this, but I have a question, which is, that's like interesting. Why do you think that you had this major rearrangement of the way you see life, and yet the money thing still triggers you? What's up with that?
Well, I think because I struggle on blending my spiritual life and I guess we would say normal life together.
Yes, I think that's
it's really hard for me.
That insight really resonates with me based on things that I know about you. And do you know how I know things about you?
How?
I'm not psychic, but I listen. I know things about you based on what you've told me. And what you told me is that when you had your spiritual awakening, it was massively disruptive to, I mean, you told me you lost your family over it. So what you just said really resonates with me as true, that you have a difficulty with, you called it blending, I might call it integrating the spiritual with the regular. Because when you had this gift, and I do think it's a gift, of this massive spiritual awakening, you weren't able to integrate it with your everyday life, which to me, like the pinnacle of everyday life is the home. So what you just said about yourself, I think is very insightful, and it resonates with me as being completely accurate based on everything I know about you, based on what you've told me. Does this make sense to you, what I'm saying? Does this?
It does. Yeah.
So I'm
Yes,
just
it does.
wondering, I'm thinking out loud here. I'm wondering how much of your path in front of you has to do specifically with the challenge of integrating the spiritual into the ordinary. In other words, let me say it like this. Anyone can be spiritual if they take an oath of poverty and celibacy and they live on a mountaintop. And, it's very easy to be spiritual that way. But it's very hard to be spiritual when you are having to show up on a day-to-day basis, doing adult things in society, having regular responsibilities. Much, much harder to stay spiritual, much harder to be transcendent while you're also present in the here and now. So I'm wondering if the money thing is just a symbol of the challenge that's in front of you to integrate, specifically to integrate the spiritual into the mundane.
Yes, I'm with you. And, I think the reality is it's all spiritual.
Well, yes, yes. Everything is spiritual.
From moment to moment, even.
Yes.
But
but there are two modes of spirituality. There's the overtly spiritual, and then there's the hidden spiritual. The overtly spiritual is like the miraculous, the supernatural. Then there's the hidden spiritual, which is the natural, the day-to-day, which also is a gift and is straight from God, but it requires more maturity to perceive it. I'm wondering like this. I'm just thinking out loud, but regarding practices that would help you to integrate your spirituality with your everyday life, what I might even call your embodied life. Does it make sense to you why I would refer to it as your embodied life?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I want to, just because there's other people listening, I want to explain it to them. Speak about spiritual life, that's like the life of the soul. And, where is the soul most comfortable? Well, certainly not in a body. The soul is light. What's it doing in a finite little container, It's a funny thing, to be a soul in a body. And yet, the Creator in his infinite wisdom dispatched us here for a reason. He knows what he's doing. There's a purpose to it. And, in some ways, this is the ultimate spiritual accomplishment, is to find peace in embodiment. So I would like to talk to you about maybe some practices that would help you to integrate your spiritual, your intense spiritual awareness into everyday embodied life. Does that sound like it would be an important piece of the puzzle, at least?
That sounds wonderful.
Okay. So it's interesting that money is a trigger for you, because money actually is part of the healing here. You said you don't really like money, and I get why you don't like it, because you're a spiritual guy, or at least you've become a very spiritual guy, and money is a distraction. I would encourage you to start incorporating money into your spiritual practice. And the specific way to do that would be through charity. And it doesn't
Okay.
have to be large amounts. When it comes to charity, the important thing is not the amount, but the frequency. Meaning to practice charity as a regimen repeatedly throughout the day. In fact, what's going on with the video feed? Because trying to fix it. All right, so the video feed right now is not working, but there's on my desk, nobody can see it right now, but on my desk there's a little canister, and you can hear me rattling it right now. It's making noise because there's coins inside of it. But what it's for is to give charity. I keep it on my desk, and before I give a class or before I do anything, I take some money and I put it in there. And I do that repeatedly, multiple times a day. And there's something about the act of physical, not just you're taking money, you're changing it from one account to another, but there's a physical component of it where you reach into your pocket and you pull out the money and you put it in this canister, and then when it's full, you take it down to whatever good cause it is that you're supporting. I think that might be very healing and settling for you to get your soul more integrated into your body.
I love that. And it's very practical and easy. I've actually, want to do that, but that is an actual physical thing, an act, and I know how that can help rewire your brain as well.
Yes, that's right. The repeated act sort of treads new neural pathways. Yeah. So I think that might be very helpful. Just it doesn't have to be large amounts, even some pocket change, but making that part of your daily practice, I think, can be very healing and settling, and be the beginning of getting your soul more comfortable in your body and feeling more empowered in your body.
Yep, and that's another big word, is just empowered.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I've lost a little bit of that, and it's all intertwined. But yes.
Yeah. And also another thing is that when you give charity, God pays you back. So if you're struggling a little bit financially, so by giving charity, you will receive more. Again, it doesn't have to be crazy amounts that, would be reckless for you in your position to give. It could be small amounts, but the repeated act will open up the pipeline to receive financial blessings.
I love that. It's kind of opposite of what you think. You lose a job and you start to tighten up, but I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary. It's like we feel like it's the last thing we need to do is to be giving away any of our money. But there's an old parable that a guy goes to the post office to mail a package, and they weigh the package, and they tell him it costs $5 to mail the package based on the weight, and you have to buy stamps. And so he gives them the money, and they take the stamps, and they start putting the stamps on the package. He says, "Just stop! What are you doing?" And they said, "We're putting the stamps. You just paid for the stamps. We're putting the stamps on the package." He says, "No, but the stamps are going to make the package even heavier." No, don't put the stamps on. It'll make it even heavier. So in his mind, putting the stamps on the package, no, that's the wrong direction. We don't want to go that direction, because if it cost this much when it was this weight, and now you're going to put the stamps on it, make it even heavier, then it'll make. But the reality is, no. Putting the stamps on it is what's going to get it to the destination where you want it to go to. So putting the stamps is like giving the charity. It's not going to make it more burdensome. It's going to expedite it. It's going to get it to where it needs to go to, which in this case, really, what is it? And going where it needs to go to, where it needs to go to. It's your spiritual awakening needs to become more grounded, specifically in areas of the material, the mundane, the physical. Yeah. Yeah. So I highly recommend that practice. I recommend it to everyone, but especially in your case.
No, I'll start it right away. And then, of course, you put it in there as the act, and then, of course, give that to charity of some sort, correct? But it's the act of putting it in one place, right?
Yeah. And then, when if you have a container and you fill the container, when it's filled, you can go bring it to whatever good cause you want. It could be a local cause or whatever it is. But just the point is to help others. You're helping others. You're helping either a cause or an individual. It really doesn't matter. The point is any act of generosity is charity.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, good. Good. I'm glad that resonates with you. Okay, that's fantastic.
Well, you've been a ton of help.
I'm so glad that I was able to be helpful. I'm very grateful.
And I hope somebody else was able to get some help from it. And really, that's the only reason I share that spiritual story is because, I had to find people similar things happen to. I thought, I didn't know what was going on with me. So I always share that in these types of groups in case it's happening to anybody else. So they have somebody to relate to. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And God knows how to arrange it that people who need to hear it. So you put it out there, and maybe someone will be listening to the replay at 3 a.m, and they'll say, "Oh my goodness, that is so applicable to my life." Yep. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, and and thank you for your input. And have a wonderful evening. And hopefully, I'll see you in Lawrence,
God willing, or in Kansas City, or who knows where. All right. Be well.
All right. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Hi there. I hope you're enjoying this. If the videos that we're creating have enriched your life in any way, I would like to ask you to please consider partnering with us to create more content to help change more lives. There's a link above, as well as in the comment section, to our annual campaign. We're raising our annual budget. If you would consider partnering with us at any amount, even $1, it makes you a partner in what we do in changing lives. Thank you so much.